Yeah, I know.
In front of me.
Wait. Hi everybody. So today we're going to be launching Upfront with Sherie, the podcast, and also the support group. So I've just made a little bit of a slide that I want to go through and just let you guys know what I'm about to do, what we're going to do, and how we're going to make an impact within the community. All right, so I'd like to thank everybody that's come today and Facebook Live, and yeah, we'll be putting it on other different social platforms. So the Sherie family. So we've also got Perth Management Consultants, which is the head, the family, and then we're branching down with Your Angel Is With You, which is the book that I've written, which will be published shortly. I just can't seem to get past a certain section. So, and we've got Upfront with Sherie, the support group, which we've shouted out to women's health clinics within Perth, Coburn and Fremantle. So they're really, they're excited about giving me some support and also referring a lot of people or women onto me. So, which is going to be fantastic. So my mission statement is to serve as a representative as an individual within the community. So I share my journey and hopefully, you know, if there's one thing that I can pass on to another woman or another man or whoever, that's what I'm striving for. So yeah, just to make sure there's resources out there for women, men, families, whoever. So that's what my aim is. I don't know if I will get there, but that's what the mission statement is. So a little bit about myself. So everyone that has known me has known that I've been on a bit of a journey with my health. So I've got antiphospholipid syndrome, which is a blood disorder. I've had 20 PEs in the lungs, 5 TIAs, and yeah, we've tried chemotherapy to try and kill some of my bad blood cells to give me some more good cells, but it hasn't actually worked. So that's okay. We've got a team of immunology department who are, I guess they look at me like more like a learning curve. But if they can learn off of me and help someone else, I'm thankful for that. So with the whole antiphospholipid syndrome, I'm going to go through the pregnancy loss. That's what Your Angel Is With You. That's what the book is about. So unfortunately, I've had an ectopic pregnancy, stillbirth, and a miscarry. So I want to kind of get some resources and share with women that it's okay to still mourn your child, because it is a pregnancy loss and no one can tell you how to feel. And being told that you cannot have children, or you've got endometriosis, or you've got all these fun things as women, and being told that you can't have a child, it's debilitating. I'm not a woman, I'm not worthy of it. So it's like, yeah, what my goal is to bring you comfort, resources, and just to know that someone's there with you, because it can be horrible. In saying that, if you have a diagnosis, you're lucky. But if you haven't got a diagnosis, you kind of sit back and think, I know that I don't feel well, and I know that I'm feeling like this or like that, and we need to take control as people, as ourselves. If you're not happy with that outcome, you go and find another outcome till you're happy. And if you've got 3 people telling you the same thing, that's okay. You don't have to worry about that. Fight for yourselves, because no one else is going to do it for you. So yes, I was told that I couldn't have children after chemotherapy. I was refused egg retrieval. There was no discussion on the table for IVF. It was, Sherie, you will not have kids, get over it. Then I had to turn to my husband and say, hey, as a woman, I can't give you a child. You know, like he hasn't got children. What am I going to do? Are you sure you want to be with me? Are you sure you want to progress in this marriage? Because this is an out for you. If I can't give you this, you know, and a lot of women think that, like, he's not going to want to love me because I can't bear a child. You can go and get adoption, you can get a surrogate and all of that, but it's still that mindset of I am not worth it. So that's why I wanted to write the book, give people what I kind of went through, and when people relate, you educate yourself. So yeah, that's my health in a nutshell. I am not qualified, I'm not a registered nurse, I'm not a doctor. I am someone that has been through it. So, and I have worked in the corporate health sector, so I do know how to create programs. But now I'm getting that program and getting what I know and pulling it together. So that's what we're all here for today. All right, so we know that we have to have a mindset. We've got the community on our side. We're going to have a good team that pulls together. We're going to get some volunteers. And again, we're going to get those resources from actual nurses, community groups, and we're going to see what the community needs. And then we're going to do relevant workshops. So through the month, we will have different workshops. And on a monthly basis, we will have the support group where people can come in. We will, at the beginning of, actually, I think I'm going a little bit too, hold on. I think I've got a slide for all of this. No, we're going to go back a bit. Why build a support group? So I kind of explained just before why I'm doing it. So no one understands your chronic conditions and you feel like you just, how are you, Sherie? Oh yeah, I'm good, but this, and this, and this. People get over it. And unfortunately, I know that I've been that person. My friends are like, oh, this girl's always sick. She's always got something wrong with her. But it's like, you find out who your real friends and your real family are when they stand behind you and they ring you. They acknowledge your sickness and they acknowledge you. So somewhere, you know, where you're not feeling alone, this is what we're here for. So people go, I feel like this, why? So you know that you're feeling a certain way, how can I fix it? So the whys and the hows is what we're going to lead by example through the whole support group. So we've got lots to learn. So we're going to go through all of those, not all of those today, but this is kind of what my mind is and what the wellbeing program will be about, and have some of, if not most of this stuff in. So each month we're going to have a calendar. Like I said, we're going to sit back and we're going to go, okay, we're going to put out a poll, and whoever wants a certain topic in, then we're going to get that topic, and then we're going to do workshops and have different things throughout the month. And the City of Cockburn also want to assist with that. So they have some workshops they have through the month, so then we can jump on the back of them, it's great. And yeah, we've got a community, you know, City of Cockburn, we've got the community out there, but we don't use it like we should. And you guys would know from the City of Armidale. So each month, obviously, at the beginning, we're going to support, you know, your relationships around you. We're going to get your mental health. Like, you have to do all of these before you can get yourself better. so the nutrition, the physical activity, the sleep, and then get the mindfulness. And then we go on to the various workshops. So we do have a podcast that will launch this week, and we will again go through the specific title or the illness, and we're going to go through, and if we have any health promotion days like Are You OK Day, Red Nose, we're going to introduce that into our calendar as well. The support groups, the first Saturday of every month, and PMC, which is, we'll be doing the corporate health events and any fundraisers that the community or our certain areas like SANS, a Red Nose, anything that they need to. So we're going to contribute to that. And eventually we'll have a 24-hour support line. So that's in the works at the moment. So we'll be going through that, which is exciting. Again, so the book will be out shortly. And yeah, it's very exciting. I didn't realise that you could write a book. So yeah, it's a little achievement for myself, which I'm quite proud of. So, and then Cello She Designs and Your Angel is With You. I wanted to launch this because when I lost my baby, I wanted to be able to go to a certain area and go, like, she's resting. You know, a lot of people, you know, when you die, you go and you have you've got a cemetery or you're cremated. I wanted to create something where women or families can go, okay, it's the birthday, and then they have a special keepsake, or, you know, that they can pull out every year and, you know, put flowers on or whatever, like just a nice way to say we remember you. So, that's also very exciting, very creative. And yeah, that's basically, the website is coming soon. We had a bit of a drama with that, but we are back on track. So the website will have everything with all the shop, all the resources and things like that. And we have a subscription coming. So they will have free access to the podcasts, the newsletters, and all awesome resources. So yeah, and when we do have the support groups, we will have a peer lead. So today we've got Lisa, who's going to explain her journey with endometriosis, and each month we're going to have, you know, someone from the community come and share their journey. So Lisa, do you want to come up?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, have a seat.
Cool. I'm going to get Kuda to do a welcome.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, no problem.
Whenever you're ready.
I don't know, I don't know where to stand.
Yeah, stand in front of there. Yeah,
Right.
Perfect.
Let me not block anyone. Alright, so we'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land this event is hosted on today, the Wajak people. We would also like to acknowledge that we are actually pay our respect to elders past, present, and emerging, and we extend solidarity and hope for a future where all are afforded justice and assurances of freedom.
Perfect, thank you. Thanks so much. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Tell me your journey. So let me know where it started, how it started, and yeah.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Lisa. So I was diagnosed with endometriosis in 2020. So basically I actually never knew, like I knew what the word was, but I didn't know if I had it.
Yeah.
And so the way that it all happened was I had a ruptured cyst. So I don't know if you guys know what that is, but basically people that do have endometriosis sort of get endometriomas, which is like a chocolate cyst, so a bag full of blood, if you can say that. That's just pretty much what it's like. Yeah, hot chocolate, not very hot though. But it's quite painful, and when that ruptures or that bursts, it causes an immense amount of pain. So I just remember like in 2020 it was like, you know, nothing else was going on that time, was it? No, it was quite a full-on year.
Yeah.
But it was like a couple of months before where I was in extreme pain, and every month I would just be like, you know, on my period, but it would just be awful. And I had no idea what was going on. And I remember 6 weeks before the actual incident happened that I was bleeding like lightly, and I was like, okay, this is not right. And that's when my symptoms were getting worse. Like I would get really bad back pain. I could like really tired, couldn't really do much. And so the way that it sort of happened was, it was sort of the Saturday. We were at Cottesloe having you know, lunch
time.
Yeah, and then, you know, you don't want sort of this sort of stuff to happen to you, but basically I bled through like my, you know, my pants.
Yeah.
And it was quite obvious, and I was like, okay, I need to go home, I need to rush home and get some stuff. But as we were saying bye to our friends, I just felt something in my stomach with like drop all the way down, and it felt like a knife, like this is your stomach, and it felt like a knife was like carving from the inside down, and I couldn't move. And luckily Kuda was there, but we've, as a relationship, we've never been through something like this before.
Yeah.
We didn't know what the ins and outs were. We didn't know to even call an ambulance. There was I can remember all the steps that were happening. Like it was raining. I even dropped down to the ground. I couldn't move. And Kuda was like, "Get up from the ground." And I was like,
"Take a Panadol."
Yeah, yeah, he did say that. But it was so hard because when you have an immense amount of pain, it's really hard to talk.
Yep.
And I'm a really like, you know, I can be a little bit feisty and like be like, no, this is serious, we need to do something. But in that moment of vulnerability, there's not much that you can do, because all you do feel is, you just feel immense amount of pain. It feels like someone's like punching you from the inside, stabbing you, like my stomach was vibrating. So we're in the car, and I think I'm going to zoom through a few things here, because we did call an online nurse. And she was like, get to the hospital. But instead of calling the ambulance, we're in a situation like this, it's actually a good thing to call an ambulance, because they're professional and they can actually look after you. But we thought Fast and Furious was better, so
it always is.
So we zoomed like from Cottesloe straight to the hospital that we only knew of, which was in the city. And unfortunately, that was COVID time, so you couldn't just walk in and, you know. However, they were like, "Why are you here?" And on the way there, I remember I couldn't sit up, I couldn't stand up, or not that I was standing up in the car, but I couldn't sit up, I couldn't lie down. I just had to like hang on an angle, you know. I'm in the back seat, and find a position to hold on, because it was that intense. And I threw up twice. And I was like, I don't like throwing up, but that's what happened. And, you know, as we get to the hospital, I remember the doctor saying, you know, you need to park your car and walk over. And we were like, she cannot walk. Like, I can't. And she just got me this little chair and eventually got me sitting down, and which was great, and took me straight into the ward. And there I was I just remember getting into the hospital and going through. And to me, it was all nurses and doctors, and I felt like it was a slow motion event, and they were just staring at me. It's kind of like, because my bra was half off, so I'm a bit personal, a bit TMI, but
nothing's too TMI.
My bra was a little bit off, and I had like a little bit of a see-through top, and I felt like I was isolated. I felt like they were judging me. That's how it felt, because nothing on the physical looked wrong. It was internal, and that made it feel like I was nothing. So as doctors were just like turning around, it's like they were staring at you as we were going through, like, what is this shit doing? And eventually they found me a bed. I was there, and I remember one of the nurses also looking at me, and it was at night time, so you had doctors and nurses coming in and out. And so that I did not just see one, I saw so many, right? Like 5 or 6. And
you tell your story over and over and over,
And basically I remember the one nurse just taking my arm and going, oh, you know, just trying to draw blood, whatever. can you go to the toilet? No, I can't. Like, I can't move. And at this point, such extreme pain that I can't really talk much. So it's taking every ounce of effort just to tell them what is wrong. And you know, the lady they were like going to get me medication. They were going to get me Panadol, but unfortunately, it was in the triage room. So it took forever for them to get it. So it took a while for them to get anything for me. And at this point, I think if I wasn't in pain the way that I was, I would have stood up and said, no, I need it now. And it was the same story. It would go around, the Panadol wasn't kicking in, the same thing for the next part of the medication, Tramadol. I think the last thing I was on was oxycodone, and still then my pain hadn't really subsided. I could still feel it, but by this time my stomach was bloated, and I still couldn't, like I physically couldn't move. And there was one point of the night where Kuda had left to go get a coffee, and it was just me and him, and I think it was the nurse that told you, don't come back in. She's talking to the surgeon. And we had a surgeon come in to see me, and I felt at that point that it wasn't okay, looking back, because at the end of the day, you need someone, a support person with you, to actually listen to the story, because if you're a patient and you're in so much pain and going through that, and on so much drugs at that point as well, you don't know what's going on. Yeah. And they need to make a better decision for you. So having a support person, no matter what that looks like, is very, very important. And he just, felt on my stomach, and obviously he felt I was in pain at one point, and he said, no, your pain is not as bad as what anyone else's in here pain is like. So, you can probably just go home. And at that point of the night, I had someone already setting me up another room, setting me up another place where I could have a bath or something. So at least I had something there. And I thought it would have been better if I stayed there, but I felt like I was in so much fear and scared that I wasn't in trustful hands. And at that point, they also said I didn't have a gynecologist there, which is very important, and scans to also see what is going on with me. Now, this is quite important, and I look back that I should have had a second opinion and gone to another hospital. Yeah. But at that point, I just wanted to go home. And so another thing that happened to me, as I was wanting to leave, I had to get my prescription. But in order for me to get my prescription, I had to wait for them to give it, and it had been an hour, and a little bit more. And I was like, excuse me, is anyone going to give this to me? And one of the main nurses was like, what do you mean? And why are you leaving? You're still in pain, you shouldn't be leaving. And I was like, well, this is what the surgeon said. And she's like, okay. It was chaotic. And she tried to look for my chart, and my chart had disappeared. They couldn't find it. So my chart was gone, and the person that was looking after me had no idea what it was. And that made me already feel like, you guys are you don't care. So this point, I was like, okay, let's just go home. Let's just struggle, let's go home, whatever, deal with it tomorrow. And that's pretty much the solution that happened. We went to the chemist. At that point, I was in so much drugs that I even cleaned my car when we got home, all the vomit and stuff. So it was like, okay, I think I'm okay. But it was actually the next day, the Sunday, where Kudo, my partner and my fiance, was going to soccer. He was going to his game, and my mum was going to cross over with me and come and see if I was okay. And like I've told you before, I'm a strong person, and sometimes I don't like getting looked after. Like, I can figure it out, I'll be fine. But at this point I was like, I think I'm okay. But I wasn't. And that was the problem. Like, in that moment of time when they had gone, I was lying in my bed, and I couldn't reach over to the side or anything else. I couldn't actually get out of bed. And by this point, my drugs have gone. And this is when the pain was coming back in full force. Now at this point, guys, my cyst had already ruptured the night before, and I was constantly bleeding. And at that point, I'm in a really bad position. Luckily, I can't even remember how I had my phone, but luckily I had it on me, and I was trying to call Kuda, I was trying to message people, but I had a friend of mine who was around the corner, Sky, and some of you guys may know her, and she was willing to open, like throw something in the window. But luckily I got my landlord to come and open the doors. And they came in, and she came in, and my mum arrived at the same time, and she was like, can you move? And I also remember before Sky, when Sky was there, like outside the door, I was in my bed. It was such a vulnerable moment because I was like, man, I'm screwed. Like, I can't do anything. And I remember crying, and it was just the most horrible feeling. But they ended up calling, and I remember my mum's face, she was in panic mode. She was trying to be strong, and they were like, no, we've got to call the ambulance. And so at this point, the ambulance came, and I obviously couldn't get out of bed, and they knew it was a serious problem. And luckily they gave me something, I don't even know what it is. Maybe it was morphine. I don't know.
Like the whistle? That's great.
Oh, it's great stuff.
The takeaway.
And I needed it so much at this point, and I arrived at the hospital, and I was, to that point, I couldn't move at all, couldn't talk, couldn't speak, and that's how badly I was in a bad shape. And they didn't know what was going on. We all didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And I actually had it, she said, do you want to see anyone else? Because my mum was there, and she said, I was like, yes, because I wanted to see Kuda, because I had no idea what was going to happen. I actually thought I was going to die, to be honest with you. Yeah. And luckily he came in the doors at the same time as the nurse going out, and they got him, and I said hello, and I didn't really know how to say goodbye, but that's the moment of what it felt like. And they got me to, this is a really hard situation, because they got me to get like a piece of paper to sign the fact that if they find anything, like they might have to take my ovaries away, and that's like a big thing because I also want to have kids. Yeah. And when you can't speak and you don't have an option, you just kind of like, you kind of just go, okay, just sign. Yeah. But it's such a big moment for you because you're making a big life decision, and you can't have a thought process, you can't think about it, you just got to do it. So that, and I'm sorry I'm being so vulnerable.
No, it's the truth, it's what's happened.
Yeah. But luckily, when I went in, they figured everything out. I was actually septic and I lost a lot of blood. So, and I was kind of a very vulnerable patient when I recovered. So I was in the hospital for like a week.
Sorry, can I go back? Did you go back to the same hospital?
No, it was a different one. It was a women's hospital where they kind of understood you, they knew how to look after you. And I think that was the major difference. They have gynecologists on call. Yeah. They have scans and things on call as well, so they know what to do. And I think as a woman, as a female, if I'm going to give like advice to anyone, get a second option and go to a place that actually knows how to look after you, because there's a big difference. And luckily, when I came out, I was looked after so well. Like, there was a lot of attention to detail because of what I went through, and I think I had a 10 centimeter endometrioma, which is quite huge, and that's the thing that burst. I had 2 of them actually. So yeah, that's pretty much my diagnosis. They took it all to the lab, then they told me, yeah, you have endometriosis. Great, awesome. And I was like, oh, great, cool.
So what do we do now?
And they explained a little bit, but not enough. And I definitely felt isolated. I felt like I was figuring it out all by myself. And I was Googling, TED Talking, looking to different options. But looking back in the 2 years, I believe that I would have probably had some sort of trauma or PTSD or something, because it took me a very long time to recover. I've gone to therapy because of it, numerous amount of times. There's a lot to do with my diagnosis because I didn't know what to do with it. Luckily there are support groups on Facebook and things. And in 2020 it was difficult because it was COVID times, so we couldn't see people face to face. So it was really difficult. I had to figure out how to walk again. I had to figure out what to do with this diagnosis. I had to deal with a gynecologist telling me that I can't have kids and I have to do IVF. I was like, how am I going to get the money to support myself? What do other people go through? I had to also figure out pretty much what you said before, like how, how am I a woman? How, what does this look like for me in the future? Is adoption an option? And then having the same conversation with my fiance, like, are you sure you want to be with me? Because, I can't give you what you may need, but luckily I have an amazing person with me that has supported me through these 2 years. But also looking after him, because when you have a chronic disease or when you go through these emotions, it does affect your relationship and it affects the person who's supporting you. Yeah. And having constantly conversations with him going, how are you dealing with this? Are you okay? Can we talk to someone? And it's interesting, it brings you a lot closer in your relationship as well. This person has gone through a lot with me, and I appreciate that. And it's a different type of love, a different type of setting. So that's pretty much, that's my story, but it's not the end, it's still ongoing. 2021 I had another cyst. Had 1 liter of fluid, and I had to go see another doctor, but at that point I didn't have a gynecologist. And that doctor said, you can go through your system with me, we can do IVF, but after my surgery, he just disregarded me. So it's been a tough journey. And that's pretty much me. But there's no cure for endometriosis. It's a continuous thing. There's only symptoms to help reduce and manage your life and make it better. Yeah. So that's me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, and that's what we're here for. Like, that's why I wanted to get the support group. I've obviously, I don't want to give people false hope as well. Like, I've managed to have a beautiful little girl, and people can get it wrong. Yeah. But what we're here to give you all the resources. Yeah. If I can help you, even by just talking. Mm-hmm. There was times where I just messaged you. We were messaging at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. But it was just because you understood. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I want to be able to give it to other people.
And I think that connection to have that is exactly how I feel, because at the time of going through what I went through, I was like, one day I am going to talk about my story, because it's a part of a healing journey for me. Correct. Many people do not like to share. They don't want it to define who they are. But I will also add this, as a person of colour, it is also so important to have these conversations, because we don't sometimes talk about these conversations openly. We don't talk about mental health openly. And you'll find that a lot of people are going through it and they don't know where to find support. Yeah. So thank you, by the way.
No, I just want to be able to help people out there. Yeah. And people like yourself. It's just amazing to hear. Yeah.
And I think that it is also important to have support groups. Yeah, because we all, sometimes I just want to listen to see what someone's going else is going.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm just super lucky. Like, all these people in the room are just 100% behind me all the time. And you're right. Let's bring that. For other people that don't have that. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Great. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Not a question, but an observation.
Yeah.
As a kid growing up in Australia, you just mentioned about a person of colour.
Yeah.
As a kid growing up, we don't get taught to discuss our emotions, things like that, So, good on you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think it doesn't, I actually don't think it just affects people of colour, it affects everyone.
It does.
I don't think that we go in our lives just so normally, but we might ask someone if they're okay. But how are they actually feeling? And then you made a good point before, like, the people who are around you and actually know you, they know that you're not okay. They know that you're not well, but how do they reach out? How do they support you from in that point? So we all go through it, and we just need to have that discussion, an open discussion about it, because the deeper, like, like, I might be like, I'm fine, but when I go home, I'm so fatigued, I'm tired, I can't even move out of my bed, or I'm you know, stuck with anxiety or whatever it is. And people are like, oh, why hasn't she come? Why hasn't she messaged? Well, because I'm at home, I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with. And it's the facts. So, yeah, so thank you.
No, good on you.
Thanks.
So strong.
Yeah. All right. Well, yes, good on.
Probably just not.
Come up and sit.
Oh, snap. All right.
No, because I think it's very important that we hear like a bit from the other side.
Fair. And it might touch on that actually. My thought was women's health still needs a lot of work because I feel like over the years they've treated female bodies like they're smaller versions of male bodies. And it's kind of sad to know that something like this affects so many people, and there's just not enough knowledge out there. And yes, it's not always easy to figure these things out, but it just feels like we need to do a lot more as a society to kind of advance women's health. You know, I look back even in high school, where you know you'd go to PE and you'd just assume any time one of the girls wasn't taking part or wasn't swimming or whatever, it's like, she's just using her period again to get out of it. But just thinking back to the year leading up to the first surgery, Lisa's periods were getting ridiculous. Like she'd be hunched over in bed, did just the most comfortable position she can get into, and just not realizing just how bad it could be for someone because we haven't been taught that. It's just one of those things where I feel like, you know, we can definitely do better as a society, and hopefully, you know, our daughters in the future and stuff like that don't have to deal with things like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Well, you're a very good man for standing by her, and yeah, congratulations.
Thank you for creating this platform. This is amazing. we're here for it.
All right, but yeah, I reckon that's kind of our wrap up. Again, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming. And yeah, we'll be back here on the first Saturday of each month.
Yes. I'll be here.
With, yeah. All right.